Hello, this is David Sherry. I'm going to show you some code on how to extract keywords from a string. Why are keywords important? Well, keywords are used by search engines to help them in their searches. And so we're going to start off with a string. So this code that I'm going to show you is very, very useful if you want to learn how to code a search engine in PHP. Okay, and so what we're working on is functions. Okay, this section is primarily on functions. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the function here as a start. Now, I'm not really going to explain what the function means. Okay, but here you can see here function, PHP function to get keywords from a string, extract keywords from a string, and this is the first step in learning how to extract keywords. All right. And then you have your params that are mentioned here. Okay, the string text, and it explains everything here on these. And I'm not going to go into the code of actually explaining it. All right, because as a PHP programmer, there has to be a minimal foundation. Okay, now in this code here, okay, you have the whole code right here. Okay, and then this down here are extra notes for me to use, and you can show it. And you might want to stop this video at any point, okay? But anyway, it just has one function, and that one function is right here. This is the most important thing of the function. That's the main function right there, okay? Now, how do you use the function, okay, will be in this section right here. Okay, that's the main function. Now, if you noticed earlier, I said concerning the function, extract it from a string. So that's what this variable here is, text, okay? And you go like this all the way across, and then everything in between here is the text required, okay, for that perimeter, which is mentioned up here, okay? All right, but then you have another perimeter. It's called stop words. Now, why are stop words important? Because stop words you don't want to include. Okay, so they're actually skipped. And so this is, the perimeter of stop words is in the variable stop words, which is an array. Okay, so you can see that here, param array stop words, and then you got param string dot text. All right, and so your stop words will be down here. These are your stop words. Okay. And so that's the perimeter there. And if you notice I mentioned 3 perimeters. Okay. And then you got param here, minimum length. Okay. I might have to do a search on the file here to find it. All right, so let's do it this way to find it real quick. Save me some time. All right, let me try it again. It probably didn't take. So let me copy it this way. Copy. Find. At minimum length. Okay, there you go. Down here. So here's the minimum length, your stop words, okay, and you go down there, and so that's the other one. All right, now, and then you also have a return list of words sorted by frequency and descending. Okay, now let me go down here because this is what I'm trying to go, and then you extract your keywords here. Okay, this is for extracting the keywords. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you how the function really works here in a second. Okay. Now, before I do, I want to show you this little page I made for you that explains keywords, stop words, and meta tags and how it plays in so you understand the importance of the figure. Keywords are the core terms or phrases users type into search engines. Okay, this is why this tutorial is kind of neat and I think important. They signal the topic and intent of your content. Okay, and then it goes on and says, directly match user queries. All right, all right, and then more specific phrases like this right here or this here. Okay, search engines analyze keyword placement in title tags, meta descriptions, headings like H1 and H through 6, body content in URLs, and image alternate text. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to let you see this whole page, and you can stop it here just so you can kind of get an idea when you're ready. All right, I want to try to keep this really simple. Okay, and you'll be able to go through it. All right, and then here it says what are meta tags, and it explains what meta tags are. So if you're a programmer and you program meta tags, then you'll understand the meta tags. Okay, so you got your keywords here. All right, and then you got your description, and then meta tags concerning the robot. In other words, that's how they determine when to follow a web page, based on the robot rules. Okay, and how the search engines use these elements here. Okay, so you can stop it at any time. I'm gonna go up, down, right here, and do it all over. You got this section here, all right, where you can see everything from here to here. All right, so you might want to stop it, and then I'm going to go down to what stop words are. Then you got that section where it says what stop words are. And then you got this section here. All right, what are meta tags? And then I'm going to go up one more. And then this gives the full explanation. So now you have the full explanation, and you can stop the video anytime to look at that. Okay, now let's go back here. Okay, now when you're in excuse this stuff right here. You're actually viewing a file that has special encoding, through the windows. Okay, so you're not going to understand that. But anyway, this is the robot rules right here, and more robot rules and different examples. This is what the purpose of this is, and then you got the keyword examples right here. Okay, which is really important because we're talking about matching keywords and etc. Okay, and so that gives you an example of what meta keywords could be. Okay, in other words, the description of the web page, the author, search engines, really like this part right here. Okay, now let's go back over here. Okay, now this is the code again, as I mentioned earlier, and you can stop and copy the code anytime that you want. Okay, so this is the main function that is important right here. Okay, and this section here, so you don't get confused, here and down, that section there is how to use the function. And I'm pausing it so you can understand how to use it. Now comes the time to make it where you can understand what that function actually does. Okay, now to see the actual function in work, okay, I'm going to do this here. I'll make sure I got that right. No, we don't want it from the file. We want it from this function here. All right, and so this will show you how the function actually works. So here it prints out an array. These are the array of keywords. All right. And what it does, it normalizes normalizes punctuation. In other words, it removes it. Okay, in this case, so it removes punctuation and stop words. It normalizes the case, tokenizes the string, and returns a list of significant words. Okay, and so it returns an array right here. Now you can take and iterate this array to break it down. You can log it into a text file, log it into a database. You can print it out as an array. There's a lot of things you can do with it, with this function. But this is an important function in reality when you want to handle this stuff in terms of how to begin building a search engine. Okay, so anyway, this is David Cherry. I thank you for listening to the video, and I wish you a wonderful and pleasant day. Very, very pleasant day.